Collecting for legacy. Legacy is something that has been I don't know if I want to say the cornerstone, but it was the foundation, I think, for vlogging, or one of the foundations. At least the foundation for maybe the conversations. That was the first conversation I remember having was legacy. The second one was connection and legacy, and it was quite long. But I have a little one here that just made me think of connecting back to legacy and going back to that, and that was that I saw a Facebook ad for just like this big like antique collectors garage sale thing, and I was thinking like, oh, okay, like what do they have? And then I just started thinking about the collections that I have and the things that I have and things I have gotten rid of over time, and things that I keep. And yeah, I think that some of this has to do with identity as well. But I mean, legacy and identity are so tied together because if you're leaving a legacy about you, if it has to do with how you are going to be seen after you're not here, or while you are still here, which I think is more important, to conduct yourself in a way that you want to be, seen and perceived, and deal with people in a way that reflects well on yourself by doing good things and good works. So anyway, I was thinking about this collecting thing because I've had since I was a child. I've had like this. I don't want to call it a hoarder side of me, but definitely a collecting side of me. Like stickers or comics or whatever as a kid, some toys. I don't think I held on to those things as tightly then as I hold on to them now. So now a lot of it is functional, like collecting functional things, but not always. Um, I think that the functional things are more I'm more tied to, but not because they're functional, but because what they represent. Because I don't collect, let's say, like I mean, I have little trinkets and little, I mean, if I was at my place I could show you, but just little knickknacks and little like decorative things. But there's not like one specific like, oh, I collect elephants. Like if you see an elephant figurine, just that's what you should pick up for me. That's a good present. Like no, I don't. That's just not a thing for me. So the functional things are media based, books, magazines, CDs, vinyl, DVDs. Um, and I guess I'll talk about those real quick because those are my main things. Where to the point that I have over, I think I'm getting close to about 1,100 books, if not over that. I think I'm over that if I count like physically over 1,100 books, just not 1,100 titles, because I have some doubles or triples or what. I've got some books that I think are very important and that I love the idea of as well. And I have multiple editions of those books, including Watership Down, Clockwork Orange, 1984, Brave New World. So there's a handful that I have like, I mean, Watership Down, I think I've got seven different editions of, and then I keep some so that I can give them away too. I get doubles of some of those editions to give away. So anyway, I I like what books represent for me. I like the function of them. Recently, in the past year, as the collection has been growing, I've started to pare down and be more selective about my books. And if it's a book that I read and I was like, I don't like that, like it doesn't serve much purpose for me. I think its function is not great. I don't understand how it could be useful for anybody. I don't want it in my personal library anymore. And that's the thing that's interesting too about the library thing, because I've thought like, oh, like this is something that I could pass down. This is something that I would have in the home, and if there's family and kids and whatever else, that like that could be passed down to them, or that other people would be getting usage out of it, not just myself. Um, so that's one reason why I keep certain things, even though I'm like, I don't think I'll ever reread that. and I have more books right now than I probably ever could read in my lifetime, based off of some calculations I've done. Unless I end up in like a full body cast for I don't know how many months from mountain biking or something, and all I can do is read, and that's it. Then maybe I'll get through. Maybe I'll get through all my books. But yeah, I have plenty of books, more than I think I'll ever be able to read in my lifetime. So I thought about writing a letter to my bookshelf, and I still want to do that. And in some ways, it's more of like writing a letter to whoever has to deal with my books, because I haven't read all of them. And although I've like curated that shelf to a degree, I've been doing that more and more this past year, and getting rid of a handful of books here and there, whether I've read them or not. Some that I haven't read, I was able to just look through and be like, you know what, I don't know why I picked this up. This is not going to be for me. I don't need this book in my life. And I've been trying to do that. I want that bookshelf to be of use to people in the future. I want those books to be of use to people in the future. And I want that to be a reflection of me as well, and the things that I value and the things that I enjoy. That, I think the books to me are the thing that is most of both those worlds. It's functional. I'm getting use out of it. They're a symbol of an idea, of knowledge, of education, of lifelong learning, of fun and enjoyment, excitement, adventure, like daydreaming, creativity, art, like all those things to me that books represent, and like knowledge of self and all those things. But they're functional because I use them. It's not just a symbol. It's not a picture of a book. They are books. And again, curated in a way that, like, the books that I've read that I enjoy, I keep. The ones that I'm buying are because I think I will enjoy them. I think there'll be a good purpose. I think those things. I don't know for sure. So that is my biggest symbol. Other things like music, I'm just like, man, I'm so stuck with like these CDs that I have, that I rip them, and then I do have a CD player in my car still, but when I get a new car, I doubt it's going to have a CD player, whenever that new car is. But I doubt it'll have a CD player, so I don't know what to do. And it's like I'll rip the CD and then never listen to it again, because I'll have digital files and I'll play it through my phone or MP3 player or whatever. So what do I do with that, right? But I still want it. It's like this physical thing. That is also a symbol. It's just not as... That is more identity than the legacy of the books and everything that I think I value with those books that can represent me and my values and things and passions. But the CDs do that somewhat. Music does that somewhat. Movies as well are very functional for me because Netflix and other streaming services don't keep a permanent library. You know what I mean? Like, things hop on there, they go off. They're not there all the time. So for me, DVDs are like, hey, these are movies I really love. I want to watch them anytime I want to watch them, right? Most of the DVDs I own, I have seen, unlike the books, where I'm less than 50% of the books I own, I have read at this point in my life. So, but yeah, I movie-wise, I've seen most of them, and I want to be able to watch them when I want to watch them, and share those with people too. I think that's one of those things that, to me, it's like this intimate thing where I get to share movies with people that I care about, or I think that they'll be really cool. Like, for that person, I think that person will think that they're great, or they'll add something to their life, or we can have a discussion about it, or it's just entertainment. But again, those represent something for me as well, but they're more functional. Again, the books are the biggest symbol. Magazines are another thing I've thought of, keeping certain magazines, because some I've just been like, hey, I'll read it and I'll toss it and I'm okay with that. It took me a while to get to that place, but with some of them, I'm just like, hey, I just don't keep those. Art magazines, though, or art-related magazines, art-adjacent magazines, I have a lot of. And someone who wants to be a high school art teacher, I thought, oh, maybe I can keep this in my classroom or whatever, but like, they can be reference material for myself. They can be reference material for children, other people that just want to flip through them. Ideally, if I have a bigger studio, art studio, I would keep them there, and I could use them as reference there. And I like to have them. Again, all these things that I've been collecting, I think that if I just collected something like tigers, it was like that doesn't represent a lot. Like you could load symbolism onto an animal, right? And say I like them because they're very honorable and blah 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 blah. Like whatever that is for whatever animal, you could do that. I just don't. I like visual stimulation, so my little knickknacks and like pictures and everything everywhere. That has some, I guess, legacy value in the fact of like, oh, John thought that was aesthetically beautiful and he enjoyed that, or what it stood for, or it was a nice quote, or whatever. My writing books are a thing that I guess in a way I collect writing books and I need to write more in them because that is a major legacy thing. Journal writing and things like that, major legacy thing. The vlog in itself is a legacy thing, and I've talked about that especially in the uh, behind the curtain playlists. That's there as well. But I'm just thinking of like, why do I collect things? And knowing why helps me to curate things better and acknowledge like, yes, legacy and keeping these physical things. And like, how important is that? Is it important at all? What happens if there's a fire? What happens if something happens to all these physical items? And I've thought about this before. Like, what if all my books just burned away? Like, do I start collecting them again? What do I do? Do I just get books from the library and return them? Like, what would I do? I don't know. And I think it's because I have, and this probably isn't a good thing, tied so much of myself into those books and what they mean and what they say about me and just the way that I value them. I don't know how healthy that is. I think it's fine and healthy and good to value books for those things that they can do that are so enriching to our lives. But when I own those books, and I'm talking about valuing this, like, let me value this specific book, right? Like, it's going to be crushing if I can't deal with that loss, because then it becomes a loss of self, and that's where I guess I'm at with like physically collecting things and leaving this legacy. But my legacy should be more about acts, not about a physical collection, right? It should be about ideas, right? Like that's why the journal writing, or talking about ideas here. I think that is something I need to focus more on, is leaving a legacy through action, through art, conversation, feelings, emotions, etc., and focus less on those physical items that can represent me. Because I think I can do a pretty okay job of representing myself with my own words and not relying on symbols as much to do that.